what we do know is that 4 communities have been affected in the Lata area in Tumotu province, which include a population of about 481 people. But so far, those people in those communities, they've experienced the flooding, but there's been no casualties reported. But certainly some damage to those particular communities and also the runway and the township adjacent.
And do we know how bad that damage is, how easy it would be to rebuild, and what's the situation for housing for those people affected?
Yeah, well, most of the people in that area live in fairly simple traditional houses, thatched houses. So the positive of that is they can be rebuilt fairly easily. So we're just waiting for the full details to come in, but we'd imagine some of those houses have most likely been affected by the flooding. In terms of the runway, it is very low-lying. Reports are that already the water's started to subside from the runway, so I think everyone will be hoping there's no permanent damage to the runway. It does sit adjacent to the coast, so it can flood reasonably easily, but the reports are so far that the water has already subsided from that area, which is encouraging.
Yeah, and overall, all encouraging news here, really. So we've got these tsunami warnings across the Pacific cancelled. As you've been telling us, no casualties at this point. Easy to rebuild. So at this point, the only concern would be for those people who have been displaced and homeless at this point in time. What sort of help are they likely to get? Where will they go for food and support? And, of course, what would your organisation be doing regarding that?
So the way such things are coordinated in the Solomon Islands is through the National Disaster Management Office, which is part of the government system. So NGOs like World Vision, we collaborate with the NDMO to first of all do an assessment of the damage immediately after an event like this occurs to really get an accurate picture of what's required. And then based on the strengths of the various agencies, we then engage in the response. For World Vision, we're the only non-government organisation with a permanent presence there and with a staff of about 22 on the ground. We'd be assuming if there is any response, we'd probably have a role in that, given it is a fairly isolated location there in Tumotu. But again, we'll have to see what the assessment brings in terms of the details of what's required. But as we mentioned at this stage, the news seems promising. The other one we are just waiting to see is the neighbouring provinces of Makira in particular, and also the southern part of Malaita and Guadalcanal. Some reports of some flooding there, particularly at one school, has been reported since we last spoke. So we're just sort of tracking to see where there may be damage, and then we'll assess in detail and respond accordingly.